U-GeekTV.
So this weekend, I went back and watched Old by M. Night Shyamalan. And as I'm sitting there and I'm looking at the questionable writing, the questionable acting, the questionable story progression, I had an epiphany. M. Night Shyamalan is the horror equivalent of Tyler Perry. Let's get into it.
I'm not supposed to tell. Something happening? Don't rat me out. I won't. You know the butcher? The freaking nut job that goes around just chopping people up? Well, the feds or whatever heard that he's gonna be here today, so they set up a trap for him.
Welcome back to U-GeekTV. I'm your host, Jarius, Unapologetic Geek, and I am back with another Unapologetic review. And today we are talking about M. Night Shyamalan's latest film, Trap. And boy, it is something. By now, you know how we do things. On the front end, I give a spoiler-free review, and on the back end, pause. We get into a little bit of spoiler talk. So without further ado, here we go. I'll start by saying Josh Hartnett turns in a performance that we deserve, and M. Night Shyamalan does not, as Cooper, who is a good guy, who underneath it all is a homicidal, crazy ass killer. And he does this so well. Like, he plays both parts very well. On one hand, he's just this regular guy, nice smile, looks like he's always helpful, just wants to do anything he can to make his daughter and his family happy. And on the other side, like, he is a fucking lunatic. And I enjoyed seeing that character go between both personalities throughout the runtime of this film. So biggest kudos to him. Another kudos, because it's not going to be a whole lot, I'm just letting you know, Salika, is it Salika Night Shyamalan? Maybe it's just Salika Shyamalan. Anyway, her soundtrack, I mean, I can't say a lot about her acting. This shit is ass. But her soundtrack is good. It's all original songs. They're written and performed and produced by her. Again, the acting leaves a lot to be desired, but her songs, they work really well. They kind of set their good background music, kind of set a good mood for what it is that's going on throughout the course of the film. So yeah, I was with it. My first problem with this film is how many conveniences and leaps in logic you have to be okay with in order for this movie to progress. Like, the plot is pure lunacy, and it's only helped out by really incompetent characters that are incompetent, because a lot of this is incompetent writing. M. Night is a talented director, but at the same time, I really feel like he's bullshitting when it comes to a lot of stuff. And I think he may have made these characters purposely incompetent, because there's an overarching point that he's trying to get to, that you can't judge a book by its cover. And with that character, Cooper seems like, again, this nice, unassuming guy. And I guess he's saying that because of that privilege that Cooper kind of gives off, whether it's racial or personality wise, allows him to get a lot of passes that a lot of people otherwise wouldn't have. Well, that would be good if the writing was actually smarter. Here, he's making characters dumber, which I really hate when anybody does that in order to progress the plot. And yeah, it's just not good. And it's not just the writing that's highly questionable. Like, some of the acting here, like, M. Night has this thing where he wants people clearly to act weird or kind of unsettling, but some of this acting is just bad. And it's not just the dialogue, because I'm looking at Josh Hartnett. There are areas where his dialogue was even questionable, but he's such a consummate professional that he just executes it without a hitch. But other characters in here, like, some of this acting is bad, and Salika has a good amount of that bad acting. The soundtrack for this film is absolutely worth checking out, but her acting, please, there's anybody, give us some lessons. He can't be a father, because he doesn't know how to direct. I mean, it takes the actors to carry his script, so it's not going to be him. Somebody has to get her an acting coach if she wants to continue down this path. But Baby Girl definitely got the music side of it. So that gets us to the verdict. I'm honestly not excited about seeing this film again outside of what Josh Hartnett was able to lend itself to. And for that, I can just look at clips on YouTube if I really wanted to just experience his performance. But as far as the film, I just reviewed Divorce in the Black. And in that review, while I acknowledged that the acting was bad and the writing was a bit poor and the logic was all over the place, I also was able to say that I was entertained. And Trap did entertain me. Even though I'm not really into looking at it again, it did entertain me and it did its job on there. And I can explain, a couple of my other grievances in the spoiler review. With that being said, I feel like Divorced in the Black and Trap are on par with each other. They actually have a couple of similarities. And they're going to get the same score. Trap, just like Divorced in the Black, gives an unapologetically basic as fuck rating, which is a 2 out of 5. So, yeah. Not saying, hey, don't go check it out. If you just want to look at some kind of popcorn bullshit and laugh at a pretty bad movie with a good performance in it, check it out. But otherwise, man, you can really skip this one. Wait for it on streaming or whatever. If you haven't seen Trap and you want to go see it, stop this review right now. Go check it out. Remember to come back so you can just get some of my spoiler thoughts. If you have already seen it or you don't care about spoilers and you're still around, here we go. Cooper wouldn't have gotten away with half the shit he did if it wasn't for black people. The magical Negro-ness that's going on in this movie is palpable. The main issue that I have just starting out, there is a vendor at the concert that he's taking his daughter to who helps him out beyond anything. Like if you are on a staff and you know a killer is in your midst and you have been told explicitly by the police, the SWAT team, the mayor, the FBI, everybody, not to really engage like regular pedestrians because we are here to catch a killer. Common sense would tell you the man that you just met, it'll be different if the vendor knew Cooper outside of this. Like they knew each other beforehand. They just met. And I'm going to tell you how Cooper gained his trust. This shit is ridiculous. There was a kid being an asshole to Cooper's kid. And Cooper told his kid, hey, just let this asshole kid have this shirt that his kid and the other kid were competing for. Just let him have it. And this character, this vendor, looked at Cooper in his face and said, I can tell you are a good man of character and virtue. And I will let you and your daughter have this shirt once I get it restocked. I just trust you in all that you do. Cooper left. He came back. They had another conversation when he had the shirts. Oh my God, this is crazy. He tells Cooper basically the entire SWAT team and FBI plan. The killer named the Butcher is here in this concert, which that's already crazy because you're going to try and find a serial killer amongst thousands of people. We're going to help the FBI and everybody else catch this killer. The FBI plans on locking down the building essentially and escorting all men out to interview them to find out who the Butcher is. That you would think that's bad enough. No. This man told them what kind of passes are needed to gain access throughout the stadium. Then he told them what the secret password was to get through security if you're ever asked. Like, this black man was pivotal in the worst way to this story, and I cannot get over it. So the vendor takes Cooper backstage to go to the stockroom to find the t-shirt for Cooper's daughter. He immediately puts everything that the vendor just gave him into practice. This man swipes the vendor's badge, goes backstage. He is listening to the meeting between the FBI and the SWAT team about him. He just chilling in the background. This 6'4", 6'5" white man, because Josh Hartnett is a big boy. is sitting back listening to the plot to capture him. Nobody notices this. He then, and I mean, I was losing it in my seat at this point. He then goes amongst the SWAT team. He's serving, or he's portraying himself as a member of the stadium staff, and a cop asks him like for some sugar for his coffee. Josh Hartnett or Cooper, whatever, just I mean, you can pretty much assume what the fuck some sugar is when you're in amongst some coffee. He just grabs the sugar, gives it to him, and then he offers the cop donuts. You know what color this SWAT cop was? He was also black. Two magical Negroes have advanced the plot. It does not end there somehow. Let's go to our next example. So next up, Cooper is kind of in a panic. Oh, by the way, when he saw the SWAT team conveniently discussing him, he swiped the radio. So he's listening to the radio and essentially finding out what the plan is by the FBI, I guess, strike force captain or whatever. And she's talking about like everything that he's getting ready to do, which the next thing was to create some chaos by pulling the fire alarm. So it stops him from doing that. He sees like some cooks or whatever. He loads the grease up with, I believe, more grease or something like that, like peanut oil or something. He causes the explosion. Gary gets scarred. He takes this distraction, he uses it to his advantage, and he swipes an apron, puts it on, and he goes up on the roof because he's trying to see if there's another escape route. Two more SWAT team members come up to him. One of them asks him for the secret password that our first magical Negro gave him. He provides the password, and then he says, "Well, where is the card that you swipe to get up here?" As Cooper is going into the apron to get the card, he opens the wallet and he sees that this belongs to an Asian man. This apron that he has on belongs to the Asian man. The SWAT team member never asked for photo ID. He only just asked for the card. Y'all, if there is a serial killer amongst you and you are charged with protecting the general public, wouldn't it occur to you to say, hey man, let me see? Nope, not him. Yet another magical Negro has advanced this plot and he allows Cooper to leave the rooftop. Somehow it does not end here. Here's a bonus ethnic person who lends themselves to a plot. They are not a Negro, but they lend themselves to the plot. M. Night Shyamalan is our next magical person to advance the plot. Cooper is in a state of panic. The cops, for some reason, are deciding to openly grab suspects and walk off with them. At this point, they have a very detailed description that fits Cooper. Of one key point is there's a tattoo of a lamb on his wrist, and he's covered that up. But this kind of gets the wheels started. Like, how do they know that much about him or whatever? But they also don't have photo ID, so it's very interesting. But anyways, I'll get to that. He walks up to M. Night Shyamalan's character. He tells them that his daughter has, I believe, like I think it was leukemia, maybe. Tells them that. M. Night's character says, "Oh, I happen to be the uncle of Lady Raven." That's the singer's name, of Lady Raven. And man, it's just crazy that you came up to me. We're going to choose somebody, and because this has become a fucking Make-A-Wish situation, we're going to choose your daughter, and we're going to go up there and have a good time with Lady Raven. This magical person has gotten the butcher access to Lady Raven, which that's fucking irresponsible if you know that there's a serial killer afoot. And then they say that the least amount of resistance is backstage, which also doesn't make any sense. But this is why Cooper wants to have access to Lady Raven in the first place and have his daughter sing with her. This works. This leads us to our next magical Negro. Random black fangirl faints. The doctors irresponsibly take her and prop her up on the gate. After Cooper's daughter and Lady Raven sing and they're walking off, Cooper sees that this conveniently placed black girl is about to faint. He swoops her off of her feet and takes her backstage while hiding from the leader of the FBI, who is kind of indicated may know what Cooper actually looks like. They get backstage and he's doing this like fake basic nursing shit. Like he just gets a ice pack, opens it up, and gives it to the girl. A black nurse, which is our next magical Negro, looks at him and is like, "Oh wow, he's such a nice guy. Can we borrow him?" What are we doing, M Night? Like you know what that goodwill gets him because everybody just has it in their head that Cooper is just this nice guy, despite having several different descriptions for how the butcher looked, two of which are black men. I think it was like 8 total suspect uh makeups that they put out there. But anyways, they give him even more access, knowing that there is a killer in the streets trying to kill somebody. My God. So then, this is when the movie starts to get good. I'm going to give them credit for this. They basically say, yeah, people who are backstage, they don't really have to go through those security measures. But since it's the end of the concert, the leader of the FBI does say, no, everybody's getting checked. Like nobody's walking out of here without going through our screening protocols. And you know what Cooper does? And I thought this was just absolutely bonkers and badass. And this is kind of when the gloves came off, so to speak. He goes to Lady Raven and he says, "Hey, I'm who they've been looking for. All of y'all, everybody, SWAT team, you, police, everybody is looking for me." Shows her the hostage. And he has like a carbon monoxide release where he has the hostage that he can control remotely. He just said, "Look, if you don't give us a ride in your limo, I'm going to do what I got to do." Badass delivery by Josh Hartnett. This is like, and he's been great throughout this film, but right here is when it really hit like this. He one of them ones. This is something that you're going to remember. And so Lady Raven works it out. She's in a panic and they get into the limousine and she's like, "Okay, well, let's go to your home," talking to his daughter. And you see in Josh Hartnett's face, like he's something is clicking. Like, okay, I don't know what she's up to, but I can't overplay my hand. So they end up going to Cooper's home and she meets the family and all of that. And things kind of are really tense. And I'm going to give M. Night Shyamalan some credit on his direction. The camera angles during this point were very well done. It got really close on a lot of characters. And he's done this before, but it was very well executed here to really show the panic and uncertainty in everyone's face. Even Cooper kind of started to become undone by what it was that was going on. And so at this point, Lady Raven gets him close enough and she snatches his phone, runs in the bathroom, communicates with the hostage. And Cooper is going nuts outside, but he's still not overplaying his hand. He hasn't just gone on to knock the door down, but he's visibly upset. And after she's done talking to the hostage, she goes on, I guess, Facebook Live, Instagram Live, or whatever, finds someone amongst her fan base that's close enough and sends them to go help the hostage out. And basically, long story short, this man is trying to kidnap Lady Raven. He's flipped on his family. He's exposed himself essentially as the butcher amongst his people. And then, in a bit of a contrivance, he gets a conscience of some sort and he lets Lady Raven go. And then just, he's kind of come to terms with he's going to be caught. by the FBI or whatever. The SWAT team comes up. This man cleaned his house a little bit. And then this gets us to our last magical Negro. Lady Raven is in her limo, and then you hear somebody tell the limo driver, who is a black man, hey, I'm with the police. We're gonna take the limo drive. It wasn't a situation where somebody was sitting and think, I'm not gonna leave my post. And if y'all want to give us like some police escort or whatever, yeah, we'll do. No, the driver just hands the keys off, knowing that a serial killer has not only ridden with him in the limo, but is also in the house, and they haven't secured him yet. Long story short, that cop was Josh Hartnett, or was Cooper, and now he's kidnapped Lady Raven. Then we get to another just convenient situation, because I'm starting to believe that the Butcher's whole career is based on convenience and incompetence, more so than him just being this smart character. He's in a parade. Lady Raven's fans, or not a parade, but it was just a really busy street full of Lady Raven fans. They see her, they recognize that she may be kidnapped. She escapes. She does not immediately yell or anything like that. The SWAT team pull up on the limousine, start shooting at it. Do y'all know that this man had enough time to change out of the SWAT team gear that he stole? Changed out of that into some Lady Raven gear. He got out of the limousine. Nobody said a fucking word. They were looking at the FBI and the SWAT team. Nobody said anything. So this gets me to my biggest thing. And by the way, spoiler alert, but of course you're still here. He gets away at the end of the movie. He conveniently, after he's arrested, is allowed to lean down in front of his daughter's bike, and he takes off one of the bars that holds the wheel together, and he uses that to get out of his shackles. And I don't know why a serial killer of this magnitude, who has been this hard to catch throughout the whole film, would be allowed to have his hands in front of him, but he was. And he got unshackled and he gets away at the end. Or you can infer that he gets away at the end of the movie. The writing and allowance of convenience is so absurd in this film. It drags down something that honestly had potential to be pretty good. If just one or two characters were a little bit smarter, I could buy into some of the shit that M. Night was trying to sell. And it almost becomes a comedy at some point. Like, it's funny, and it's unintentionally funny in a lot of places, but some parts I'm like, oh, he was trying to be an asshole, or he was trying to be funny in this moment. And it's just how it feels when you're looking at it. And sometimes that works, but a lot of times, like, you have to be a certain caliber of writer and director to have the joke essentially be on you and you be okay with it. And M. Night is just not one of those guys. He's not. Another thing that was a great plot twist, it was the wife that set the trap all along. She found the receipt for the Lady Raven tickets, and she thought that Cooper was cheating at first, but then she uncovered something a little bit more sinister, and she wasn't entirely sure he was the butcher, but she had a good idea that he was, and she's the one that set all this in motion. But overall, like, I saw somewhere, I believe on Rotten Tomatoes, this is like around a 49%. So this is as close as 50% without being 50% that you can get, right? I feel like M. Night is a 50% director. It's either going to be great to okay, or it's going to be ass to complete trash. It's going to be one of those. There's no in the middle with him. Like, even when it's okay, it's like better than a lot of other people's okays. But when he start doing some bullshit, he really, 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 really leans into the bullshit. And ultimately, that served to the detriment of this film. I was excited going into it, and ultimately let down by how stupid and incompetent a lot of the characters and a lot of the writing was. But Josh Hartnett, kudos to you. He was amazing. So, Trap, have you seen it? If you have, let me know what you think in the comments. Continue to like, continue to share, continue to subscribe. And until next time, I'm Jarius, the Unapologetic Geek, and I am out.